Okay, so how does he pick up the box? Well, the easiest way to think about this is it's using, again, a constraint system, very similar to ones in the other videos that I have up on the site. And what it is very simply the box is parented under a locator, which if I just show forward the locator, I've made it big, is here, and the box is parented under this, and the locator is then parent constrained to the hand control. Now, again, what's happening is the parent constraint, if I show you here, is off until this frame here. On frame 57 it comes on. So here the box is not attached, but afterwards on 57 the box is attached to the hand. Now the good thing about this is because again the locator is constrained and not the box, it means that the box can be animated. Yeah, the box can be animated because it's not constrained, so you can move the box around. And then so the box is basically constrained, and then here we do the keying the visibility trick. So the visibility is on here, and then the next frame the visibility is off. So how do you make the box look like it's being thrown? Well, what you do very simply is you would have a cube here in frame 92. On frame 94 you would duplicate this. So you go edit, we go to duplicate special, and we duplicate a new one under the world, so it's not within this group. So if I duplicate special here, 93, I'll get a new cube. I'll just make its visibility on. Yeah, so there. I'll key the visibility of this on here on 93, and I'll key it off on 92. So you have one cube, this one here, cube 1 up to frame 92, then it becomes invisible, and now all of a sudden you have cube 3, which is actually the one that he is going to throw, which is the one that you will animate moving forwards, yeah, when it comes to. So again, it's a bit of a trick, and that is the process, yeah. I'm going to come to in a minute how you get that to move in a convincing fashion. Okay, so when so I just splined, I mean there's no hard and fast rules, I splined a little bit of the animation just to get it to work, and then perhaps I decide to spline the whole animation. Okay, so I'll spline the whole thing at some point and see what it looks like. So initially, you know, you've got the animation of the guy, and you know, we've added some more keys in, and it's kind of getting there. You know, there's some stuff going on, but we haven't animated the box. Okay, so how do we do that? Now, okay, so we've got the box, and it's very important for this. There's one thing I haven't mentioned. Of course, I brought in a camera as well too, and I've animated the camera because I've decided at this point that this is going to be what you're going to see. Yeah, so at some point I make a decision on the camera. A good thing about having a decision on the camera and what you're going to see in the shot is it means that you do not have to worry about maybe animating certain things. Like already the hand on this side is less important. It just, you know, if it's going through the box here, I can't see it because I'm going to use a camera like this. So certain things, because you animate to camera, are less important, and I don't really have to consider them too much. But what I do need is I need a good motion on this box and it comes off. So how do you get that? Okay, so I've got the hand, it's got a camera like that, and then presently I've got it going like this. I've got cube number 2 here, visibility off, and make that visibility, actually it's still off, so I'll make it on. So cube 2, so we've got visibility 1, 92, and I'll make the cube 92 the visibility on, and I'll make the visibility off before that. Okay, so that's okay. So, and actually before I do that, I'm just going to make it on 192 as well. So this is, sorry, this is a slightly different scene from the one. So I'm just going to get this into position. Now, so what are the problems? I'm just going to get this roughly into position. Doesn't have to be perfect because the ball's traveling for the box is traveling forward. Because it goes off. So 92, I'll make that off. So 93, I'll maybe make this like this, slightly further forward. Okay, so go that. Now, how do you animate the box going forward? Well, one thing you have to think is, what is the, because so if I just started and did this, if I just kind of threw this box forward, what would I do? I might go forward here somewhere. Hang on, I'll make sure this is still visible. Frame, the next frame, so I'll just make sure it's visible. Imagine I go to frame 110 and I just like drift this forward like this. I'm going to switch this to world, so I'm going to just show you how. So I'll make this go up like that. And let me see, and I'll go the other side, 120, and I'll pull it over and drop it down a bit, okay? So I've got this kind of thing going on. Okay, so boop. Before I do that, obviously I need to go into Windows, Settings, Preferences, and make sure that my animation is set to auto, because this would appear still to be giving me a stepped curve. So hang on a minute, let's see this. Try this again. Maybe I'll go back a bit. So I've got this. Hang on a second. Here we go. So I'm just going to key this again. I'm going to key this forward, up. I'm going to key this coming down. Have a look at this. Because I've got that. Now, of course, you'll see, looking at this, and I'm going to turn this a little bit as well. Of course, you'll see, looking at this, it doesn't look very realistic. You got this thing going on. Whoa, wow. So what are the things, what are the first things you notice about this? Well, okay, it's far too slow there to begin with. So what's going to happen is when it comes out of his hand, it will be shooting out very quickly. So the translate Y it's not going to be a slow lead in. It will come out very fast. It's like this will be the fastest point when it leaves his hand, and then you're going to have, as it's falling down, or if you remember the bouncing ball, it's going to be in this kind of parabolic arc, speeding up as it goes down. In terms of the Z direction, again, it's going to be fastest at the beginning. Yeah, I mean, take this key out altogether. It won't slow down completely. It's still moving here. And then in the X translation, actually we don't have anything in the X. So all of a sudden, then you have this. Let's see. And you can see you have kind of issues with this. It's starting too late for a start. So what do? Well, you take it back here, come back to your cube, and you make sure it starts at the right time. So maybe we have to move this so that the animation is starting a little bit sooner. So like there, yeah. So you're kind of playing around. You're trying to see it, and then I'm looking at this and thinking this still feels a little slow. It feels a bit drifty, like he's throwing it on the moon. And I'll play around with my curves and try and get the curves, make it a little bit faster. To make it faster, well, we know that we simply have to click on the cube, and I can even scale it using this device here if I want to make it faster. I can just pull it in a bit and see what that looks like. Yeah, and I might want to drop it more down a bit. So you're always looking at what you've done and trying to get it. And so once you've got the timings and everything worked out, and you're trying to, you basically, it feels like it's coming together, then you can start adding some of the little details that are really going to make this a little bit more believable. For example, when he's lifting the box up, to give you, I notice initially, and I'll show you in a slightly previous version. Oh. I'm noticing that I felt the box didn't really have very much weight. And what it was when he was lifting it up, there wasn't enough of a kind of pause when he lifts the box from here up onto his shoulders. It was just going, actually maybe I'll show you now, maybe this one is better to show you this in. Probably when you do this a lot, you start, it was, anyway, I figured that there wasn't much of a pause between him lifting the box. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to really to sense this kind of shift. So when he goes to lift up the box here, I made sure that there's a real pause just as he lifts here. And then you have to, hopefully if you've looked at the videos on animation, the whole thing is, don't just have him go from here and then straight up. Have him go from here, get his feet together. See, he drops it down again. He drops it down. There's the anticipation before the lift. Anticipation, he's getting his feet, then he pulls up over his head. Yeah? And then you have that whole thing of he pulls back and pulls back a little bit more just before the throw. And all these little details will help make the animation more believable. Always look at the feet. Don't leave things. It's amazing how much you can work into stuff, and you can start adding little details, like when he's standing, just have the fingers moving slightly. Just little things. Small details. So he's not completely still. Maybe things that you just have to look at, but it just gives a sense that the character's alive. And another thing that's very good to do is to offset curves. So that it doesn't all look like he's moving at once. Like, for example, when he pulls up here, you notice the body tucks forward, and when he's pulling backwards, this rotates in the z-axis first. I don't know if I just show you. This rotates first, and I could probably drop some of these curves too. I try not to have completely flat tangents like this, unless something's actually on the ground. So this rotates first backwards, and then afterwards I've got this rotating in the Z. So I've kind of offset keys. Sometimes if you don't want two things to happen at the same time, you can just take a curve and slip part of it slightly before or after, just to offset things. Otherwise the animation might look a little bit robotic. Anyway, so I hope this gives you a bit of an intuition as to how you can go about animating, a guy doing an action. Again, it's that whole thing of just breaking stuff down, just going in and breaking it down, not being afraid to slip curves. If you want something happening before something else, if you want, for example, when he lands on the ground here, I can. There's this bit here where he's up on the ground and then he comes down. The feet, if I show you the feet on the Y, here's the foot in the Y, and I'll show you this curve in the Y. So we've got this one here and this one here. I'm just going to bring these two up so you can see the difference. You see the feet actually hit the ground slightly before the body. I mean, I could slip the body even more if I want even more of a lag on this, just because the feet are going to, so I could, actually that's the foot, it's the other way around. I could slip this even more in this direction if I want the body to lag even more. I could make, so you got this. I mean, the feet are actually stretching too much there, but you can see you can just by shifting here, so just by shifting that curve, the feet are stretching out a little bit more as he comes down. I don't know whether you'd want that, but it just shows you, and that's simply by shifting a curve, a similar curve, just so you offset some of the curves in the body. Think of which parts of the body are going to move first, and how that affects, because essentially the body is a it's like a chain mechanism where certain parts affect other parts. Okay. Anyway, so I hope when you come to do a little bit, and if you wanted to combine this with a cycle, you could bake out the cycle, bake out all that animation, and then you can either bring in a separate character and make one invisible and then animate that, or you could simply just, with the animation of the pre-baked out cycle, you could then go in and go to your Windows animation settings preferences, and you could step your keys linear and step them, and then you could step this, the second half or the second bit of the animation for this free animation that you're doing here, and then just work into that, splining it. Yeah. So yeah, hopefully this will give you some idea and some versatility into your working methods.